Imagine sending your teenage daughter to buy candy for her birthday, only for her to end up cornered by 6 strangers, screaming at her about being a bad Christian. That's exactly what happened to me. My ex-mother-in-law sent her church friends to publicly harass my children. But what she didn't expect was that I'd expose her lies so brutally that she would become the one shunned in her precious church community. That if you've ever wanted to see true justice served to a toxic in-law who crossed the line, smash that like button and subscribe. Because this story, it's messy, it's painful, and it ends with one of the most satisfying revenge moments you'll ever hear. That I'm a 46-year-old mom of 2 beautiful daughters, ages 17 and 15. Last year, my world turned upside down when my husband, well, ex-husband, died in an accident. You'd think losing him would be the hardest part. But no! The real pain came from what I learned before his death, that he wasn't just a husband. He was a liar. He cheated on me for years, and worse, he had 2 children with another woman. She died in the same accident as him, leaving behind 2 little boys who were suddenly orphans. Now, if you're thinking, wow, that's tragic, maybe the grandparents would step up? Oh, they tried. My ex's parents, 80 and 78 years old, decided they wanted custody of my daughters, and at the same time, wanted to move into my house to live with us. Can you imagine? After years of covering for their son's cheating, now they wanted to invade my home and rip my girl's stability away. The custody battle? That's in court. The living arrangement? That was a hard no from me. But they didn't take rejection lightly. Fast forward to just a few weeks ago. It was my youngest's 15th birthday. Since her big party was scheduled later in the month, I gave her a small budget and set her loose at the weekend farmers market. This market is usually my happy place. Fresh produce meets homemade sweets. My daughter was thrilled to shop for herself. But after about an hour, I realized she hadn't come back yet. Just as I was pulling out my phone to call her, it rang. Her voice was trembling, almost breaking into sobs. "Mom, there are these women. They won't leave me alone." I froze. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my oldest and ran through the market. And there she was, my baby, cornered by 6 older women, all surrounding her like a pack of vultures. Their voices were sharp, cutting, filled with judgment. "You're unchristian," one snapped. "Your grandparents love you and you won't even visit them," another sneered. And then the cruelest blow. "A good sister wouldn't abandon her poor orphan brothers." Let me remind you, these so-called brothers were the product of my husband's affair. My daughters were the ones who uncovered his betrayal. They were the ones who carried the trauma of finding out their father wasn't the man they thought he was. And now these strangers were using that same pain to break them down in public. My daughter's cheeks were wet with tears. My fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms that I rushed in, shielding my daughter, and ordered my eldest to take her sister, pay for her things, and wait in the car. Then I turned back to those women. I knew some of them, from my ex-in-law's church, which made it crystal clear who had orchestrated this circus. They didn't even flinch. They looked me dead in the eye and told me I was an even worse sinner for refusing to obey my ex's parents like a good Christian wife. That was it. My blood boiled. My voice rose. I ripped into them, unleashing years of bottled-up fury. I called out their hypocrisy, their cruelty, their blind devotion to a woman who had lied about everything. The argument grew so loud the market staff had to ask all of us to leave. They followed me out, spitting judgment like poison, circling me as I walked. My hands shook as I gripped the car door, but I didn't let them see fear. I got in, slammed the door, and drove off. My daughters sat in silence. My youngest still sobbing, my eldest staring out the window, jaw clenched. And that's when I knew this wasn't just an attack. This was war. That night, after my girls went to bed, I logged online and messaged a friend from that church, a man I trusted. He confirmed my worst fears. My ex-mother-in-law had gone on Facebook and posted a sob story. According to her, my daughters and I were cold-hearted monsters. She claimed we left her and her husband homeless and penniless. She accused us of abandoning her grandsons. She even said I rejected the boys because I hated having sons. And the cherry on top? She rewrote history to hide her son's cheating. She told everyone the other woman wasn't an affair partner. She was our surrogate. A surrogate. As if my daughters were supposed to welcome these boys with open arms, pretending their father hadn't destroyed our family. The more I scrolled, the more disgusted I felt. Comment after comment, church members showered her with sympathy. Words like angel, saint, godly woman filled the screen. I sat there, trembling with rage, and whispered to myself, enough. Here's the thing about that church. They're extreme about a lot of things, but there's one sin they absolutely despise: cheating. Adultery is unforgivable in their eyes. And I had proof. Mountains of it. See, when my ex and I were heading toward divorce, I kept every receipt, every photo, every screenshot. Him kissing his mistress in our living room. Text threads planning secret getaways. Even messages from his parents encouraging him to keep the other woman quiet. I also had evidence of my in-laws harassing me and my daughters. Emails calling my girls bastards, blaming them for their father's death, and telling them it was their fault for exposing the affair. One of those messages was sent just 2 days after his funeral. 2 days. The evidence wasn't just damning. It was nuclear.so. I went to a print shop. Paid extra for high-quality copies. Spent hours at home building binders that looked identical to the church's little hymn packets. Only these weren't filled with songs of praise. They were filled with every ugly truth my ex and his family tried to bury. And on the very first page, a photo of my husband and his mistress making out in our living room. Their faces crystal clear. And beneath it in bold letters, the love story of Hubert and Lixa. The following Sunday, I walked into that church. My heart pounded, but I smiled politely as I slipped the binders into the back desk. The one with all the hymn books. No one checks them before handing them out. Service began. Hymns were sung. And then, the whispers started. One binder opened, then another. Gasps spread like wildfire. Pages turned. Heads whipped toward my ex-Mil. Her face flushed beet red as people read, line by line, every sordid detail. Photos, texts, emails, all of it. The gossip mill didn't just churn, it exploded. People she had manipulated into defending her now looked at her with disgust. Some whispered words I won't even repeat here. And for the first time in years, I saw something in her eyes that I never thought possible: fear. Within days, the church's Facebook group turned. The sympathy posts vanished. In their place, outrage, condemnation. The same community that once called her a saint now branded her a liar, an enabler, a fraud. And the sweetest part? She couldn't escape it. Every service she attended, every hallway she walked down, she was met with glares and whispers. The church she once weaponized against me had become the stage for her public shaming. My daughters. They finally felt vindicated. For once, the world wasn't blaming them. Justice was loud, clear, and undeniable. Looking back, I realized something. Sometimes revenge isn't about screaming the loudest or fighting the hardest. Sometimes it's simply about shining a light on the truth, and letting the truth do what it always does. Expose, destroy, and free the people who were trapped in lies. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Because trust me, these stories aren't just entertaining. They remind us that no matter how dark the lies, the truth will always find its way out.
So please subscribe for revenge stories.